Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Premps, and I am back discussing One Piece manga chapter 1006. Now, normally I would go through talking about the chapter almost panel by panel, but I might do this a little bit different and just talk about a few of the plot points that Oda covered. But who knows? And man, this was a great chapter again. I feel like since I started covering the manga on a week-to-week basis, I've been saying that the chapters are great basically every week. But I promise they really have been. The chapter's called The Honourable Hyogoro the Flower, and so it was a given that we'd get some sort of plot point regarding Hyogoro this chapter. But I'll touch on that a little bit later on. The chapter starts off with Yamato, Shinobu, and Momonosuke. And this is something which I really want to know where Oda goes with, because the story around Momonosuke so far has been him being some sort of chosen one as the rightful shogun of Wano. However, all that has really happened is him being captured, then saved by Sanji, and now being on the run with Yamato and Shinobu. If I'm to be selfish, I actually think what most of us really want is a Yamato fight, and I'm pretty sure Oda will give us one at some point, but sooner would be better than later. Last chapter, Yamato came up with the plan to hide Momonosuke inside her clothes, in which Oda teased would be between her boobs. But fortunately, we didn't go with this, and Momo is actually holding on to Yamato's back. And as a side note, this was spotted by a member of the Marys, which seemed to have some sort of x-ray vision as they can see under Yamato's clothes. But as it stands, the Marys have located Momonosuke's position and have broadcasted his location for all in the vicinity to hear. We then pick up with my boy Sanji, which I was so worried about coming into this chapter, as the last 7 days since the last chapter was released has been so tough with all the Sanji hate on Twitter, but to be honest, this chapter sets something up that I think is quite interesting. With Sanji leaving the 3rd floor with Black Maria last chapter, he began heading towards Kinemon and the other scabbards. Now his aim was actually to stop the scabbards from being killed as per King's orders. However, with the Marys broadcasting that Momonosuke is with Shinobu and Master Yamato, this seemed to have altered Sanji's train of thought. Sanji asks one of Kaido's fodder members that seems to have been knocked out, probably by Sanji himself, as to which way the storeroom is, in which is where Momo, Yamato and Shinobu are, and he's told it's at the entrance to the Skull Dome. And Oda gives us this great panel with Sanji deliberating what the best decision is. And honestly, this is the Sanji I like. Sanji is a character and the straw hat that seriously uses his brain, and in this circumstance I can definitely trust him to make the right decision. Because does he go and save the scabbards from a potential death? Or does he risk the death of Momonosuke? And personally, I believe he goes to save Momo. Because Sanji doesn't know who Yamato is. Yamato has been referred to as Master, so unknowingly to Sanji, he doesn't actually know that Yamato is an ally. My worry is that Oda is going to throw in Sanji's gag again once he sees Yamato. But in total, I personally think he'll be making the right decision. Now before I move on to the next part of the chapter, we also get a panel of Onigashima floating, and it's actually reaching Wano fairly quickly. Now this is extremely important because Kaido is about to land this thing. I have my theories on awakenings on the roof to stop this, so make sure you check out that video after finishing this video. After reading this chapter, however, I also do have some theories on Momonosuke being the saviour to stop this, so I might talk about this at a later point. The chapter moves on to the action of Perespero, Wanda and Carrot, which is something I've been wanting to see for such a long time now. And I can't say I'm shocked that Oda off-screened this, because at this point in One Piece, what else did we expect? Perespero appears to be sitting comfy right now, as Carrot and Wanda lay on the ground defeated. And Perespero does have some significant words for Carrot. He talks about her being obsessed to avenge Pedro, however all this should have been expected. It was them that entered the Yonko's territory, and what did she expect? For there to be no casualties. He tells her if she doesn't want to mourn any more of her friends, she should just go and eat some grass and chill. And honestly, whether you like Perespero or not, he ain't lying. He's extremely strong and probably outside of Katakuri has shown the most from the Big Mom pirates. But what I don't want to do here is downplay Carrot and Wanda, because Perespero does mention that it was a close call, and if it wasn't for the moon going, it would have been peak for him. So let's not knock their Sulong transformations just yet. The chapter also takes us to the Skull Dome, and for those of you who don't remember, this is where Chopper is still working on the cure for the ice plague that was shot by Queen. The plague is taking its toll on all the samurai, and they're trying not to turn into ice demons. I want to give a quick shout out to Apu, as he's still standing even through all that he's been through, and it's been quite a lot, so we have to respect him that little bit more than we have done in the past. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the chapter's called Hyogoro the Flower, and we get a panel of him in his old school form, looking buff, stood alongside Drake. One of the questions all were asking is how he went from a shriveled up old man to his old school Yakuza boss frame, and it was clearly explained in this chapter. He's been infected by the virus, but in exchange it has allowed him to draw out all the dormant strength that he had lain within him, which he intends to use to cut down as many of Kaido's men as possible. He acknowledges he doesn't have much time though, as he tells the samurai they'll have to kill him, because if he does turn into an ice demon, he'd basically kill every single one of them, in which I think Oda used in order to show the differences in their strength. Hyogoro, being the legend that he is, shows us his one sword style technique, fiery hairs, holy lights, before reminiscing about his glory days when he was the top Yakuza boss, and what might have happened had he and Odin took on Kaido when he was in his prime. However, he has no regret, because as he's on the battlefield, he acknowledges the fantastic job that Kinemon and Co have done in order to organise this raid, and the fact that he had the opportunity to have our boy Luffy as his protege. He truly believes that the sun will rise again on the land of Wano. And honestly, although it might not come across as evident, this is a man who has lived a long life, reminiscing on his last moments, and I can imagine how impactful this is going to feel in the anime. But without dwelling on this too long, the chapter also goes on to cover Marco. And wow, Marco is goated, because as Queen wants to go and attack Old Man Hyogoro, Marco is there with the interception, taking on both King and Queen. And honestly, Marco is just showing out right now. And not only is he showing out, but he's talking smack whilst he does it. The way he moves, the way he regenerates, I'm not surprised that all of us are in awe of Marco. I mean, he's been more impressive than Katakuri was, and that's saying a lot. A lot of people are downplaying King right now though, but I think this is just beautiful, because what Oda is doing is showing us that Marco was seriously a Yonko candidate had he beat Blackbeard. Now, in the midst of battle, King does cut one of Marco's wings, but at this point, Marco is just acting like a low gear. He just regenerates as if he took no damage at all, and he responds with an attack of his own, named Blue Bird. The way Marco is transforming his body and taking on both characters has to truly be appreciated. He does acknowledge that it has been tough, but he did expect this, taking on two guys with bounties over 1 billion, which of course confirms that King is over 1 billion too. But as he says this so casually, it makes me begin to question, what is Marco's bounty? Because he's clearly a level above them. But maybe I'll do a video later deep diving into Marco a bit more. Now, returning back to the chapter, Perespero notices that Marco is fighting King and Queen, and it appears that he's heading in that direction. And this reminds me that they originally decided to team up, as he didn't want to ally with the Beast Pirates. I think this is interesting because this could really change the outcome of this battle. Does Perespero join Marco and support him in his fight against King and Queen? Or does he join King and Queen and decide to jump Marco? Find out on the next episode. I'm just playing. Now, as the chapter draws to a close, it appears all the samurai are at their limits and they're turning into ice demons. But as we were reminded by Hyogoro, once he is at his limit, he ordered them to kill him. So it's at this point where he embraces his last few moments as one of his comrades, a fellow samurai, begins to strike down and kill him. And this is where the chapter ends. And honestly, do I think Hyuguro dies? The short answer is no. But should he? Well, quite possibly. The expectation for this act in Wano is a tragedy, and maybe this is it. The main question I have right now is how impactful this tragedy is, because this is what's most important in the story. Is the death of Hyogoro the Flower an impactful tragedy? Let me know down in the comments. It was a brilliant chapter for me, and on the positive, One Piece is not on break next week. So Oda, keep it coming because I absolutely love it. But I guess that just about does it for me. I absolutely love this chapter. I would really appreciate that if you like anything I've had to say, you make sure you leave a like on the video. And if you enjoy weekly chapter reviews just like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications so you never miss out when I drop weekly reviews just like this. Save.